All right. Hello. We are with Tammy Escobedo, and she is an independent director for Mary Kay and a good friend. I have learned a lot from this lady, and I know she's going to have a lot to teach us today. So some of the things that we're learning are about business and how to really succeed and get out of your own way. And she has a great story of that. So I'm just going to get right into it. Tammy, how did you get started into Mary Kay?
Yeah, so 2014, January of 2014, I found myself working a full-time job like everybody living in corporate America. I loved what I did, loved my job. I worked in managed care for 27 years, and 11 of those years I owned my own company. I was a part owner. There were 5 of us women who owned, and I loved what I did, but I was working a lot of hours. I was traveling 2 to 3 nights a week. I had divorced when my kids were very young, so I had raised them in a working environment. I was the sole provider for the home. And I was so grateful for my parents who really helped me with my kids. When I would travel, she would come over and mama would stay, daddy was still working. And, they would stay at the house and keep my kids in their normal routine. And I was grateful for that. But then when they were in high school, I met a fireman with the city of Dallas. And my husband, Jamie, now we've been married 11 years. And, we got married. And then I found myself, not only was I working all the time still traveling 2 to 3 nights a week, still missing my kids' life, but now I was missing life with my new husband. And I just wanted something different. I really was just I made a great income. I had a 6-figure income. I didn't want for income, where most people start new businesses because of extra money. That was not necessarily me. I did it because I was ready to walk away from a corporate job. So I started my business in 2014 for more time and for unlimited earning potential. I did not want to do multi-level marketing. So when I found out that Mary Kay was not multi-level marketing and that my income was based strictly on what I did, that interested me, because I knew I was a hard worker and I could do anything I set my mind to. So that's what I did. And January 26th of 2014, I started my Mary Kay business. I did some things for a couple of months, and in March walked away from a corporate job and haven't looked back. So there you go. That's why I did it, was for time and unlimited earning potential.
I love that why, because, that tells us exactly, the direction and why you stuck with the goals, even through the hard times, because we know everything has ups and downs. So what is your experiences? What are some great experiences you've had with direct sales and being in Mary Kay?
Wow, so many. Okay, so some exciting experiences was, okay, so in Mary Kay, we can earn cars, and when people find out we have a car program, the first thing they think is what? Pink Cadillac. Yeah, pink Cadillac. And so, being able to earn a car, we have multiple levels. Pink Cadillac is the last level, so multiple levels. I think one of the greatest things for me was earning that first free car. I think just being able to set a goal, and I really wanted the pink Cadillac, but earned the first car first, because that's what you do in Mary Kay, right? You just work the career path. And somebody told me one time that the color of the car only represented the number of lives that are changed because of my decision to work. And so it was that day that I realized the impact that my willingness to continue to work a direct selling business and a Mary Kay business impacted so many lives. And so through this process, I have seen a lot. Some of the greatest things I have seen weren't about me as much as the realization of the way I could empower other women to have something more. A good leader is only a good leader as they are able to empower others to do something great. And so that's definitely something I've been learning and I'm still working on. But watching a young mother, they have 3 kids, and she started her business in September with the only goal of buying a house in March. She wanted to buy a house in March. She had enough money at Christmas to put down on payment on a house, and bought that house and moved into that house. And watching that happen was really a significant time in my business. Gosh, so many times picking up a car and women, their eyes realizing that it too can be something that they can have if they're willing to do the work. So just being able to be an example. You know, Mary Kay Ash always said there are 3 ways to lead: by example, by example, by example. And so just continuing to work, leading by example, so that other women realize there is something more that they can have in their business.
That's so amazing. And, you know, there are so many people, but especially women who are single, who want to be there for their kids, and like you did, and just can't because they have to work that job. And so, what an example you are to them. And I agree, it's all about being that example. And I know I've been reading, I read the Mary Kay story. I've actually started rereading it because she was such an example, and what a blessing she was on the lives of people. And she started out humbly, you know?
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah. So, you know, people always say, well, I can't do that business because no matter what direct sales business it is. But I especially see that with Mary Kay, because I know more about the business of Mary Kay. So what do you say to them when they say, I just can't do that? I don't have the people skills. I don't have the connections.
So, you know, the first thing that I say now is, if you think you can't, you're right. If you continue to have that thought process that I can't, then you will never. So changing those words to how can I, how can I, how can I, and then tapping into a mentor that can encourage. You know, the one thing that stops us really the most is really fear. The fear of failure, I think. The fear of what? I don't know. Some people say, I don't know enough people. I don't have enough friends. I'm not a salesy type. Okay, well, really, we're all salesy type. We all do things every day that we're selling something. We're selling ourselves to something. Even if we are a customer service rep, you know, in an office, that in a cubicle that nobody ever sees, you're a very important person. And you talk to someone on the other end, and you're selling whatever it is that you're selling that day, if you're on a manufacturing line. So get that out of your head, and being willing to stop saying, I can't, and start being willing to say, how can I, how can I, how can I? You know, we become the person of the average of the 5 people that hang around us the most. So if you look in your circle, who are you with? Out of those 5 people that you're with the most, you're going to become an average of those people. So Mary Kay Ash always said, fake it till you make it. And I didn't understand that for a very long time. What does she mean, fake it till you make it? Pretend you're, you know, somebody that you're not. The answer is we all have a God-given gift. And God always provides and wants us to be the greatest thing that we could possibly be. We grow up in a home. Most of us grow up in a home where you're taught to go to high school, graduate high school, go to college, get a degree, go to work for someone else. Well, I worked for someone else for a very long time. And every time I started making more and more money, they changed my territories, they changed my quotas, right? So when they thought I was making too much money, they changed my pay structure, okay? But most of us can't dream big enough, because we can have whatever we want. As long as we are willing to let ourselves dream it, we can have it. And most of us just are scared to dream. So, you know, I say to people all the time, just tap into something great. Tap into whatever it is. Find your niche, but tap into it and be willing to do something bigger and greater, and quit saying I can't, and say, how can I do something more, and what do I want? When you have a dream for your family or for financial goals, whatever that number is, whatever that dream is, some people have a dream to go to Hawaii. Some people have a dream to schedule a Disney vacation for their family. Y'all, we went to Disney this last year, and of course we went on Mary Kay dime, but very nice to travel the Mary Kay way. But
Right.
some of my friends who had 2 kids, y'all, they paid, it was a $10,000 trip for her to go and stay at Animal Kingdom and do all the things that they did for 5 days, and $10,000. Okay, well, who has $10,000? And if you have $10,000, is that what you want to spend it on?
No.
Right? So I always say, tap into something that's great and dream big. And you know, that Disney vacation, there's so much more, bigger and greater than that Disney vacation. But so many of us are scared to dream bigger. And we should be willing to say, how can I? And when we set those goals, set them just a little bit bigger and set your mind toward that. Find a mentor and tap in and go for it.
Two things came up in my mind when you said fear and goals. So first thing is, when those fearful feelings do come up, what are some things that people can do to kind of, because I know it sometimes I've had fear that literally was debilitating. You know, you couldn't move through that fear. So what can people do, or what have you found people can do through that?
Through the fear?
Yeah.
Wow. First of all, pray.
Right.
Right. I tell my girls all the time, if you get scared or you get fearful, stop and pray first. And then what is it that, talk through, write down, brain dump. What is your fear? And I always tell people, write down everything that you're fearful of. Spend 30 minutes and write down what you're fearful of. Then take that list and separate it into 2 columns. What are the things that you can control, and what are the things that you can't? And then the things that you can, start acting on those. What is it that you're going to do to act on those things? And then the things that you can't change, you can't change. You can only just keep working. Action always overcomes fear.
Right.
Action always overcomes fear.
I like that. Action always comes. I'm going to probably put that in a quote in one of my blogs. You know it. So goals. I know how important goals are. We've talked about goals a lot.
Yeah.
So how do you set goals and how do you get to them?
Yeah. So one thing I learned in my Mary Kay business, Mary Kay Ash always said, you can't eat an elephant in one bite, but you can eat them in little bitty pieces, break it down. So set the goal. What is the goal? And then 1-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. It's always good to have those goals, because if you don't have a goal written down, a goal that is not written down is just a dream.
Yeah.
Okay. So write down your goal, then take that goal and back it down to monthly activity, weekly activity, daily activity. What does that look like? Whether it's a Mary Kay business or whether it's life, whatever it is, maybe it's a house that you want. How are you going to get that house? Okay. So I always ask everyone, if you continue to do what you're doing right now, where will you be in 5 years? Where will you be in 10 years? If you do the very same thing that you're doing right now. So you have to be willing to do something different. So take that goal, break it down into monthly, weekly, and daily activity, and then do the activity. At the end of the month, if you haven't reached the goal, look back at the activity. Did you do the activity? Because if you did, we can tweak it and we can change it and we can work with that.
Yeah.
But if you didn't do the activity, what can you do? I can't help you. But I can sure encourage you, because a lot of times it's just fear that's holding us back from that activity. And the sooner we can realize that, the quicker we can move through that. We're all going to have fear. We're all going to have ups and downs. We're all going to get stuck. But are you willing to work through it and not just let it stop you in your tracks? I think about, if you're in a cave or in a tunnel, think about a tunnel that's underground, and the opening is on one end and the other opening is on the other, and in the middle is all this dirt, right? So you're digging your way through that tunnel and digging your way, digging your way, digging your way, digging your way. And if you finally just stop, you get tired and you stop. What if there was only this much? You've already gone this long. What if now you only have this much and you stop because you gave up? Keep going. I always say that God intended for all of us to not work a zillion hours a day, which is what I was doing. God did not intend for women to be away from their families, their kids, their homes. He just didn't. But he did put us all on this earth to share Christ with others. That's our one goal in life. So through that process, we have to work, and we have to make money so that we can do those things, right? So we keep working, we keep talking, we keep sharing. And when you do that work, you're giving God something to bless, and he will continue to bless that. So don't stop. Don't be fearful. And when you are fearful, you reach up, you call that mentor, and you talk through it, because we all have fear. You just have to be willing to move through it and not let it stop you in your tracks.
That is so true. And I know that so many people have let it, but it's okay. Just forgive yourself and go on.
That's right. Pick yourself up and keep going.
Yeah. Right. And so I just wanted to touch on some, tips and tricks that you picked up for, customer base, growing that customer base, and for, your sell techniques. And then also during this time of, I don't even know what to call it anymore. I know people call it crisis, quarantine, whatever you want to call it.
Social distancing.
Social distancing is the best one I like. Yeah. How are you running your business differently and the same? Yeah. So go ahead.
Tips and tricks. The first thing is, and I say this all the time, is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right? People just want to feel important. Mary Kay Ash always said, pretend everybody that you see has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. And we need relationships. People need people. And in this social distancing time, it has been more difficult. I have learned, I am a salesperson. I grew up a salesperson. I was a salesperson for 27 years. I was a national sales director for a managed care company. I was pushy. And one thing I learned by starting my Mary Kay business was quit being pushy. People don't want to be sold anything. People don't want to be sold, and but they want to feel like you appreciate them. And so sharing products with them in my business, and everybody may have a different business who's watching this, but whatever it is, your direct sell, make people feel important, build relationships, talk to them. It is definitely something I've had to learn, because I was such a salesperson, and I've missed out on a lot in my business. Like you said a minute ago, don't beat yourself up. Just realize it, learn from it, and move forward. That's all we can do. The trick is, during this self-distancing time, I've had to reshift everything that I do to virtual. And I am challenged when it comes to virtual. I'm just going to be real. It has been hard. I am 55 years old, and all of this stuff is new to me.
Right.
So being willing to learn has been hard. But what I have found is that I've been able to communicate and get in front of people like you. I haven't talked to you in a long time, and now I'm here. I'm seeing your face, and I just love your face and your family so much. But being able to talk to people virtually, being able to build a business, show products, share with them just life. People just want relationships. We thrive on having friendships and relationships. So just rekindling all that. The biggest trick in the book is prayer and relationships. It's not about selling. Yeah. It's not about anything else. The rest will happen with God first, family second, career third. That's how we build our business. Yeah. Being willing to empower and enrich women's lives, whatever that looks like, at whatever level. But the trick is, love them where they are. Jesus loved us where we were, and no matter where we are, he will never fail. He will never leave us. And we have to be willing to live more and more like Jesus lived, and love people more and more like Jesus loved. And when that happens, God will bless your business, because that's what we're here on this earth to do, is to share Jesus' love with everybody.
That is so awesome. I appreciate that. I think that sometimes we get so busy that we forget, who really runs the show.
That's right.
We don't. That's right. Something happens and we go, right. Oh, this happened to me. Why did this happen to me? And God says, don't worry, I got a plan.
That's right. I got this.
Yeah. So that is just an amazing, thank you for that, because, and I like that, relationships. And it's funny because I think of prayer is the relationship with God, and then relationships with others is so important. Yeah. So now, you've been How many years have you been in Mary Kay?
Yeah, it's been 6 years now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 6 years.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you see for the future going from here?
Yeah, so wow, that's a loaded question. I got chills when you said that because now I'm voicing my goal, right? The
All right.
scariest part is telling your people your goal because then you have to fulfill it.
Right?
So one of the things that I heard when I first heard about Mary Kay before I'd ever started my business was I heard about a retirement plan. It's not at the time what I heard was retirement plan. What I know now is it's called a family protection plan. And so um, my goal has always been to build a national area and to empower and enrich other women to have more than what they could have ever dreamed for. And through that process, we're going to build a national area to my husband works for the city of Dallas. And in 2018, we lost our pension. So we had all these dreams of him walking away at 57 years old and being home and retiring, and now that's not going to happen. He'll work till he's 65 or even later now, but
Right.
he'll work till he's 65. And so my goal, I have a lot of goals in Mary Kay. The goal in Mary Kay is the national area. My personal goal is to have the family protection plans that my husband can retire and come home. He's fell through a lot of roofs. He's hurt a lot of body parts, and he will only be able to do so much for so long. And so
Right.
being able to, for him to be able to retire when he needs to and not worry is my goal. But through that process, I always tell people, set a goal. And when you reach, even if you don't reach that goal, you reach for the moon. And if you miss, you will land amongst the stars, right?
That's
All
right.
of the wins that come along through that. So when we build a national area, what that means is the hundreds of women whose lives are changed because of my decision to finish that goal. And that is a God-given dream. It's a God-given goal to help be that leader and to empower other women to have something more than they would otherwise not have. So all of the wins that are going to come from building a national area and all of the other lives that are changed because of my decision to work. So national area, that's what we're looking at. 5 years, that's my goal.
That
We'll be a
is
national area in 5 years, and we're looking for those people now. And we will continue to work until God says that's not your calling. But until then, it's on my heart. He placed it there, and I'm gonna do the work.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to speak publicly about those goals because they're so close and they're so big. They're those.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of what Breton calls them. They're the BHAGs, the big, hairy, audacious goals.
Hold on, I have to write that down. Big,
Big,
hairy,
hairy,
audacious
audacious
goals.
goals.
I like that. Hi, Brenton. I didn't see you over there.
He's sitting across from me because we're quarantined together.
Right.
Best quarantine partner ever.
I love it. Yes, she is.
So yeah, that's just, and what an amazing way to say it, because I know people who go out there and they're thinking money, 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 but you're thinking impact of people's lives, changing families, changing futures. And that's such a beautiful way to really end this interview. I know it's a short interview, but it was a lot to think about. And so I know that people who are either in direct sales, whether Mary Kay or some other direct sales, or people who are thinking about it, this is a lot for them to think about. And so thank you so much for being with My Map to Success and agreeing to this interview. It is so good to see you. And I know once the quarantine's over, we need to
Yes.
get together much more.
Yes, we do. And we definitely do. We have to go to dinner some night. And I just love you, and I appreciate you, and thank you for reaching out to me. It just makes my heart full. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so thank you, everybody else. I'm going to stop this recording so we can chat and
Okay.
later.